Good evening. Another successful Canterbury Beauty Fashion Week has taken place right here in the Garden City. Its headline fashion show sold out, of course. The woman behind this hugely popular event is Denise Saunders, who joins me, and Lynched starts right now. Welcome to the program. Canterbury Fashion Beauty Week is designed to showcase the diverse range of fashion and beauty retailers and designers based right here in Canterbury. And to be fair, we need to celebrate the diverse creativity and talented people right here in our hopefully new and vibrant city. The woman behind this is best-selling author and award-winning businesswoman Denise Saunders, who joins me in the studio. Lovely to have you back on the program.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, as you know, and you were very nice to invite me to the fashion show. My fashion is probably as good as my cooking. You know this. When you come into the News Talks FB studio, I've got my tracksuit pants on, and you look at me like I'm filth.
I know, but look at you now. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
Apart from the jeans.
Yeah, but they can't see that,
no, they can't see
so
the
it doesn't matter.
Putting on a fashion show like the one that you do twice a year, it must be one hell of a task. It's not easy, but people just think it's just hire the venue, couple of lights up, Bob's your uncle, and there you go. But how do you measure the success of a fashion show?
Well, this is a bit more than just a fashion show.
Oh, it is. I beg your pardon.
There's fashion shows all the time, but this is like an event in itself. And it actually takes 6 months from one to the other, literally 6 months, because it's really only me, and then I just hire in the people that I require, the contractors that I require for the event on those particular nights. How do I measure it? I measure it by the sales for the designers and the retailers, by the media coverage that we receive that highlights the retailers and the designers, because that's what it's all about. And then if people actually enjoy the events as well. So it is quite measurable. It's not so much about how much money is made or anything like that. It is very much about, are they getting repeat sales? Is it helping their business? Because that was the reason I designed it in the first place.
It is successful, and your last show sold out. There is an appetite here in Christchurch. I'm surprised, forgive my ignorance, but it sold out really fast. It was a great night out. What is it about fashion do you think that us Cantabs are so keen on? Do you believe part of it is escapism at the moment, particularly in Christchurch? We need something else just to cheer ourselves up with, don't we?
I agree with that, we certainly do. And a lot of the things that we see in the media tend to be about all the negative things happening in Canterbury. Yet there are some few great things like Canterbury Fashion Beauty Week. And yes, I agree, that's probably one of the reasons that it sells out so quickly. However, prior to the earthquake, when I did run Canterbury Fashion Week, it used to sell out as well. I think it's the calibre of the event, it's the creativity, but more than ever, Cantabrians are craving for major events where, as you say, they can dress up. How many events can you actually really dress up? How many events can male and female go to? These are never, my events are never just a female thing. They are for both male and females alike. And they're social occasions where there's a lot of entertainment involved as well.
What a great location too to have the latest event at the Tannery. I mean, you've almost got a made for television runway, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. The Tannery is spectacular. It is world class. It really is. I mean, you could be anywhere in the world. You could be in Paris, you could be in Milan, Sydney. It is fabulous. And that long, long catwalk, which is forever for the models, it's fabulous for the audience though, and the photographs and the videoing the show. It's fabulous. I love it. And our next one, of course, will be back at the Tannery because it's also intimate. It's quite intimate, so as you know from the audience, you're this far away from the clothes, this far away from the models, and then in the intervals, which we have several of, you can mix with the other people in the audience, and so it's a very much a social occasion.
You were very hot on also supporting the local businesses in Canterbury, particularly in Christchurch. What I noticed about you, Denise, it was really about making sure the word was you better support these local fashion designers and these models, because if you don't, then what happens then?
They don't exist anymore, or
Correct.
they leave, like so many people already have, and some are still doing. They simply leave, or they don't exist. And the fashion industry is struggling. It certainly is struggling since the earthquakes. And so we need to support them. So instead of when you go overseas for a holiday and buying all your clothes overseas, buy them here first. We've got fabulous retailers and fabulous designers here, and amazing stores all over Christchurch and Canterbury. So what I'm saying is support them, because if you don't, they'll close down. I mean, we need money. They've got to survive just like the rest of us. So yeah, that's very much what the whole week is about.
How big of a struggle is it, do you think, in the local industry at the moment? Because obviously the earthquakes did make things difficult. Thank goodness we've got shows like yours that is encouraging them to stay. But it is a struggle though, isn't it?
It is definitely a struggle for the fashion industry. In fact, so much so that it is said, and statistics tell us, that menswear is up rather than women's wear. Now that would be a first probably anywhere except for Milan in the world, because it used to be like 90% of sales always went to women's fashion and 10% to men's. This is in New Zealand. Now it's swinging the other way, and there's a lot more men who are out there looking after themselves, a lot more corporate men buying suits, and so menswear is the business to be in, and women are not spending quite so much, or if they are, they're not spending it in Canterbury, which is really, really sad.
That struggle extends across the board though, doesn't it? Because we're in difficult times,
yes,
and it must be an ongoing effort to try and get the sponsors through. But this year, you've got a remarkable sponsor with a connection to the United Nations.
I know.
Of all people.
I know, it's quite bizarre, isn't it? But they actually approached me directly after the last show in October, and that's with Science Alive and UNESCO, and this year is the Festival of Light worldwide. And so they wanted a major event, and they wanted to work in with fashion and light, and they came to me and said, would you work with us on this? And I said, well, of course, let's work it in together. So that's how I worked it in. So it happened to be the same week, Canterbury Fashion Beauty Week, as well as the Festival of Light Week. Now in Sydney, you may have seen, they're doing a massive month of it. We've done this week here, and it was just fantastic to work with these people. It really was, and which brought us to the emerging designers.
Yes. Amazing.
Weren't they?
Young people making some crazy looking cool costumes though. That must give you some heart then, that you've got emerging designers from some of the local polytechs that are still wanting to be involved in an industry that is increasingly, not turbulent, but I don't want to say the word struggling, but difficult.
Yes, very exciting. We used to have the emerging designers. This is the first time I've had it since the earthquakes, and we had a lot of entries from the different secondary and tertiary schools. We boiled it down to 7 finalists, and they were amazing. Of course, the theme was illuminating fashion. So
we've got some photos here, in fact.
Which is fantastic, aren't they? Amazing.
It's great.
And they had to use lights. They had to incorporate lights into their design, but they also made it themselves, and just the workmanship in the actual outfit was amazing without adding the lights. So very, very exciting.
Got to take a break, but when we return, coming up, the arts, the entertainment and the fashion. Is there enough here in Christchurch, in fact in New Zealand, to keep the industry sustainable? That's next. Welcome back to CTV's Lynched Show. My special guest tonight is Canterbury businesswoman Denise Saunders, and it's great to have you back in the studio. Let's just talk about your career. You've also trained a lot of successful international models as well, and some locally from Christchurch. They've gone on to various parts, international destinations. When you are training young models, do you know straight away who is going to make it based on their attitude and their look? Do you have a sneaky suspicion?
Yes, I do. I personally do, others may not. I have what you call in the industry the eye, which means that I can see through whatever it is that they're presenting at the beginning, and I know how I can change it to make them of an international standard. Because yes, I have run-ups in Miss World, winners of international model competitions, my models work all around the world. So yes, I can see a young girl who has no confidence in herself, is probably not dressed appropriately, her hair is not right, and I know how I can help her. Absolutely.
So you still know their potential, you can still see, despite the fact they look like they need some help, you can tell they've got it.
Yes.
Is it purely based on their look?
The first thing is actually height. Before we even look at their looks.
The height thing.
It's still the height. In fact, the height has got higher. We go taller. It's even taller now. The average height of a female model would be 5'9", 10 or 11, and the average height of a male model was like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". Under that, it's very difficult. Then, after you go for the height, then you look at the face, and then you look at all those other things that you just mentioned. Certainly their attitude is a major part of it, and then go into the training of the photographic, the television and the catwalk, and see how they move. So it's a combination of many things, and it's called in the industry the X factor, which I'm sure you've heard of, which means it's indefinable. You can't put your finger on it,
but you just know it.
Yeah, you just know that person's got it.
Working as an agent, I guess, in some form, shape or another, do you sometimes walk down the street and see somebody and think, gee, they've got it? And have you ever done that before? You always hear of those stories of Mr. or Mrs. Smith, who one day is working at the grocery store, the next day they're plucked from obscurity, and they're international models. Have you ever thought about that or seen somebody? Have you even done it?
I've never done it.
I'm waiting.
But well,
here I am.
Yeah, there you are.
Here I am.
Oh, you want to be in the next show, do you?
No, thank you.
But I certainly do see it. I don't go out looking for it, but all of a sudden, you might have a waitress and you look at her and you think, wow, you could be a model. Yeah, certainly do.
How do you give the young people the confidence they need, though? Because we're working in a new generation, I suspect, where you've got social media now. You've got so many pressures on teenagers to look and feel good more than ever before.
Oh, absolutely.
So is there a fine balancing act between giving them the confidence, but also making sure they're not too confident?
Yes, there is a fine balance, and one has to be very, very careful today. And because I very much believe in the inner being, I personally meditate an hour every day. My spirituality is really important, so I help people with that, with young people with that it actually comes from within. It's how they feel about themselves, because I do believe the old adage, beauty comes from within, and I do believe that.
Has it made the industry different, or has the industry had to change because now you've got young people and beautiful looking people, however, that indulge themselves in taking selfies? They're constantly taking what they perceive to be something good for themselves, and the reason why they take them is not because of their surroundings, it's because of them. In a way, it's almost narcissistic, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Has the industry had to change to almost cater for that mindset now? Do you know what I mean? It just seems like we're going through I don't know. I don't know if it's healthy.
No, I don't know that it is healthy, actually, to be taking photos of yourself all the time and posting them for whoever to see.
Here's what I mean. If I've got friends on Facebook or I go to add somebody and I see most of their photos of themselves, I think, ooh.
Ooh. Do you?
Ooh. I think, ooh. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean. But however, the supermodels, which are Victoria's Secrets models, they have millions and millions of followers, and all they do is take photos of themselves.
Oh, okay, really?
All they do is take photos of, but however, you can understand with what million followers. It hasn't changed it for us, but I think it's definitely changed it for teens to a sad degree, because now they see, particularly with people like the Kardashians, a lot of young girls want to aspire to look like that, so they go to these massive lengths to look like that, which I think is incredibly sad, because I still believe that it comes from within. Yes, you should enhance your natural features, bring out your lips a bit more, your eyes, whatever it is that you personally have, but not to that extent, and certainly not to the extent that it takes over your entire life, because we are a three-part being: mind, body, soul. It's not just all about the face.
You raise an interesting point when it comes to reality television. Do you think some of the model shows that we have been indulged with and even in this country have copied them, have they helped or hindered the reputation of the industry?
They've hindered it, but certainly because it's not like that at all. The way they carry on, models do not carry on like that. Industry people do not carry on like that. I'm forever actually explaining that to models and their parents. This is actually not the industry. They're not all backbiting and trying to stab each other in the back. In fact, 99.9% of people in the entire industry are very nice. Normal people just trying to make a living, just trying to get on with whatever it is that they do, and they do not do all of those things. So I personally will not watch them anymore. I think that they do not represent the industry as a whole at all.
It's interesting you say that. When I was producing the Close-Up show, I had to go to a couple of model things in Wellington and Auckland. Very nice. It's a nice atmosphere.
Yes,
it's not bitchy, it's not catty, but those things are made specifically for television.
Yes,
and in your view, they're a hindrance.
They certainly are.
Got to take a break, because when we return, there's been a lot of interest regarding using skinny models and whether the skinny model look for advertising campaigns is actually doing a disservice, and there's been a bit of a backlash. We'll discuss that when we return. Welcome back to CTV's Lynched program. My guest tonight is businesswoman Denise Saunders. Denise, the use of skinny models. Now, there was a report that was out by Massey University, but to be fair, Massey University is always putting out reports. They always do when funding rounds come through. But anyway, I want to pick them up, so I think they may have a point here, apparently. Their research suggests that advertising campaigns that use very skinny women could be hurting major brands. Women are becoming more negative when it comes to seeing a brand that features a very thin woman. Do you buy into that? Because most of the lingerie brands, let's be honest about it, most of the brands I can think of, apart from perhaps Nivea, they all use thin women. And if they don't use thin women, they're using celebrities.
You mean Dove, not Nivea.
Dove.
You mean
Thank
Dove.
you.
Yes.
Get your products right.
That's right. But yes, I do think they're damaging the brands, because the girls today, particularly internationally, are size 6, a 4, a 6 and 8. That's incredibly tiny, incredibly tiny. And the average woman today is a size 14 or size 16. So how can she relate to that? You can't relate to it. Yes, it is damaging to those brands. And that is quite right while the industries are going towards movie stars, because they are more real. Some of the movie stars aren't, of course. They're as bad as some of these models. But certainly the Dove advertising really hit it on the nail, and people will love it.
In your fashion show, it was nice to see, from my point of view, and I hope I don't sound judgmental here, average-sized women.
Yes.
They looked like they had actually they had eaten. It was nice to see.
Yes.
Is that a conscious decision you make? It is, isn't it?
Yes, it is a conscious decision that I make, because I think of the audience and also the designers and retailers here in Canterbury. They want all sizes, so our models range from 8s, 10s and 12s. Now, once upon a time, not that long ago, a size 10 was the average size of a model, which is a healthy, nice size. Looks lovely. Now, the average size, as I said, is a 6 or an 8. But you can't buy those clothes in the shop.
Well, that's right. Do you think there's a slow and steady cultural change? And I'll tell you why. When I was in Auckland at some fashion thing on some boat, and I recall, I won't name the designer, very well known, however, and her introduction was something along the lines of, and this is for the average Kiwi woman. And every model that came out looked like they needed a good plate of McDonald's. And I just laughed, and I said to my camera, we're not filming that, because she's just gone and told us rubbish.
That's right.
It is changing though, isn't it? It is changing very slowly with things like the Dove commercials.
Yes, it is. And I've made this conscious decision for some years now to have the different sizes so that women can relate to them on the catwalk. In Milan, though, they have actually done this. They actually do shows now with different sizes, and it's gone down very well. And a few more are doing that. Why they have so small, it actually comes from the designers in Paris, for instance, or Milan, or some. This is where the slimness comes from, because they don't want to use a lot of fabric. And so the slimmer the model, the less fabric that they have to use, which is absolutely
cost-cutting.
Yeah, which is absolutely bizarre, because we don't look like that. You know, women have hips, women have breasts, women have waists. These models don't. And of course, you know, they're quite young as well. There's also a shift away in the modelling industry to the age being 16 a minimum now of allowing them to start modelling. That happens in Sydney. They've got to be 16 before they can model. They're now looking at that in France and Italy as well, which is a really good thing, because they start to get a little bit more shape. Then under that, they're still children, and they've still got this straight up and down figure shape. Now, only 10% of women in the world have a figure shape that goes up and down. The rest of us go like that. So we want to see clothes that fit that, not that.
I can think of a couple of sort of pop stars and people that you see in the magazines now that are on the front covers of those sort of young teenage magazines that I would probably say 10 years ago that wouldn't have happened. They had to have blonde hair, they had to be size 0, and that was it. So do you think the culture is changing for the better?
Yes.
Across the board?
Absolutely it is. And absolutely, yes, that look has actually been out for some time now, the blue-eyed blonde.
Apart from Eccles. I want to discuss, and I know there are a lot of people at home probably wanting me to ask this question as well, the ageing process. We've had this discussion on News Talk TV before, but I think it's important because, you know, we live in a world where we all age. It's about the only thing we probably have in common, though. Ageing gracefully and ageing so you can keep your looks, is there a difference, and how do we monitor that we don't become obsessive in a world that wants us to look a certain way?
It is very difficult, and again, there's a fine line between that because we live in a youth society, and looks are important in our society.
We do live in a youth society, don't we?
Yes, we do. It's all about the youth, and so what happens to all us baby boomers? We're getting older, and so we've got to look after ourselves. And there are certainly lots of ways. I have 3 books out that tell you how to do that, and it's really
right. Give me that now. I'm going to write them down.
That's right. Beautiful Youth, one of them, best-selling book. And you go online, there's a lot of information that I impart online, and my online magazine that goes out. 2.5 million people worldwide have my free online magazine, which every month, tells you about how to look younger without costing a fortune, without having surgery. There are lots of things that we can do that's about looking after ourselves. And it's as simple as having the correct hairstyle that flatters your face, wearing the makeup that best flatters you. Things like we were talking about before, white teeth. Having white teeth will instantly take 5 years off your age, just like that.
Really?
1 hour, go into a teeth whitening place, have your teeth whitened. An hour later, yes, because yellow teeth are associated with age, white teeth are associated with youth. So, and as we age, our teeth start to yellow. Have them whitened, straight away you've just taken 5 years off. So there's lots of little things that we can do. Exercise is really important. That facelift in your fridge, what you eat, vitally important.
A facelift in your fridge?
Absolutely.
I think you're going to say get out the margarine and just go like that and
no,
hope for the
no.
best.
What you put inside your body.
Now that is really important too,
Yes,
isn't it? Because nutrition.
Absolutely.
A lot of it comes down to what you eat. At the minute you put on weight, it ages you.
Yes, it does.
And it ages your skin.
Yes, it does. And I have always been particular about what I eat because I'm a vegan, and not that I'm advocating for anybody else to do that, I'm not at all. That was my choice as a child, and I'm the only one in my family that's like it. But because of that, I've been very vigilant about, for a long time, what I eat. And I eat lots of vegetables, a lot of nuts and grains. So I'm very careful, and I do believe that has contributed to having my skin looking so good and slowing down my ageing process, because I have eaten for many years this diet.
Let me get your take on some of the, the vitamins you see on the shelves and the products you hear about on the television, where if you take this magic pill, it's going to give you more collagen, all this sort of stuff. I'm always a bit sceptical of those sorts of products. Doesn't it come down to what you shove in your gob as opposed to what protein mineral you can take?
Yes.
Or is there a bit of both in there?
I'm very sceptical about them myself. I don't take them personally, but what I do have, and which I would highly recommend anybody to do and have a test in any age, is B12 injections. Or don't buy both pills. Go to your doctor, ask for a B12, particularly women. That makes a huge difference to your hair, your skin, your eyes, your energy levels. Look at have your iron tested. Another thing for women, because I had my thyroid removed 6 months ago.
That's
completely removed, as you know. Have your thyroid levels checked. Really basic things. Blood tests will tell you they're the sorts of things that really make a difference. Yes, you're quite right. It's what you put inside your body. And what I'm very anti, really anti, sugar. Sugar's the culprit. It's not fat that puts on weight, it's sugar that puts on weight. Sugar's the worst thing. So look at what you eat. It's so simple.
It is, and you're right,
so
sugar
simple.
is what they're calling the next drug. Nearly out of time, but
Very addictive.
silly me. Here's me thinking that you've done one fashion show, you'll just have the rest of the year just to chill out and just relax and do nothing.
I wish.
You're
No,
very
I
busy
don't.
though, aren't you? Because you've already got people booking out for tables for your next fashion show.
The next Canterbury Fashion Beauty Week will be in October. That will be our summer collections along with Cup Week fashions, and you're quite right, people are already reserving tables for that show, which will be at the Tannery again.
And that suggests the industry, locally at least, is in good heart, Denise.
Yes. Oh, look, people are coming from Australia and around New Zealand to the shows. It's not just local people coming. We're certainly attracting a lot more people to it.
I might come back with my mother.
Please do.
My
She's
mother
delightful.
really enjoyed it.
She's delightful.
I actually enjoyed it too.
Good. I'm pleased you did.
Denise Thornton's always nice to have you on the program. Thank you so
Lovely to
much.
be here.
Very nice. And to contact our show, you can join me on Facebook, facebook.com/Lynched in NZ. You can always email me as well, chris@newstalkzb.co.nz. We'll see you next week.